Good meowing guys, gals, MBs, and YouTube catters. Well, we're back, and this is a video that a lot of people have been asking for, a lot of people have been waiting on. We're back with an updated deck guide, deck tech, and this time for pure White Forest or White Forest Azamina, as we got first place this past week at my locals with White Forest Azamina. And after a couple of weeks of testing and getting off of Elf Notes, taking a small little break from Elf Notes, really enjoyed this list, really enjoyed just getting back to the roots of White Forest, kind of simplified, inboard simplified lines, but still very powerful nonetheless. Real fast before we get into this deck guide, if you do enjoy this video or if you found this video helpful, remember to like, subscribe, comment down below, all that good YouTube stuff. I'm going to start off with a brief reason why I decided to sleeve up White Forest Azamina or pure White Forest once again over Elf Notes. If you want to skip this section, you can go to the timestamp down below for just the deck guide. So the reason why I decided to sleeve up Azamina White Forest again, a couple of reasons actually. First and foremost, after YCS Columbus, after watching YCS Columbus on stream, because of Kultun, how the meta is kind of evolved around beating Kultun as a deck or beating Branded as a deck, hand traps are just not very good in this format currently right now. But we're in that situation where board breakers are the best thing to be running right now. And White Forest Azamina, because like we just want good spells and traps to send with our White Forest effects, we get to play a ton of board breakers and we don't overload our deck with the hand traps that are kind of useless, like Ash Blossom in the main deck. We see that regulated to the side now. Same with Joel and Lockbird. Some decks are running Ghost Bell, but mostly everyone is just on Mulcharmies in the main, plus like some droplets, some super polys, Fallen in the Virtuous, whatever your deck can run as far as board breaking. So that really plays into the strengths of a White Forest, and especially pure White Forest, because in pure White Forest or White Forest Azamina, we get to play Super Poly, and Super Poly is really good this format, and not only in breaking boards against Branded, also for breaking boards against Dracotail, which is also a Branded deck basically, and also Kultun, since we can just go into Sea Monster of Theseus. So that is why I landed on going back to pure White Forest or White Forest Azamina for a couple of weeks, or just for testing to see how I like it. Second reason is because right now, until we get that Chaos Origins support before Nationals, there's not a bridge from White Forest into Elf Notes, only Elf Notes to White Forest, without doing a ton of like mediocre steps and adding bad cards to your deck. So really it was just like kind of hard open the Elf Note stuff, or hard open both engines. Really got to show the deck off. If you didn't open both engines, it was kind of awkward in boards where you kind of lose two Nibiru's. You can lose easily two Mulcharmies. So really just wanted to test some other things out and see. And White Forest is still, as a pure deck, is still a very viable option. And the final third reason is this past week, it actually took home top 8 at a regional in Houston, I believe. And the list was very similar to what I ran to get my Nats invite prior to the release of Burst Protocol. So like the Green Goblin mask sitting across my living room, I decided to sleeve it up once more. So let's just get into that deck guide. I've done enough yapping. It is 40 cards even. I don't think you want to play more than 42. 42 would be the hard max. You want this deck to be as consistent as possible, but I love consistency first and foremost, so I want it down to as close to 40 or 40 as I can get it. So to start us off with that White Forest engine, we are on triple LZ. Pretty standard, pretty mandatory. Only if you're running Elf Notes do you go below this number, and that's just because it's more of an Elf Note deck than a White Forest deck. But LZ, best extender, best starter in the deck. Triple Sylvie, our best normal summon in the deck. New card. We are back on a Stellar. This is the one card I was kind of hesitating putting back in the deck. It is very good into Perulia. And then if you open it plus Diabel, it's a good card to send and then later get back into your combos. But a lot of the times this is especially getting sided out, especially going second. Still hesitant on running this card and rather just like run another non-engine or run a different starter instead. And the one copy of LZ Azamina to round off our names. Like I said, this is pretty mandatory as far as the LZs and the Sylvies go. We are on 2 Diabel Star of the Black Witch. Reason why we want 2 is because this is actually a great starter in the deck, especially when you go into Chorozo lines. baits out a lot of interaction very early on. It's a starter that does not use our normal summon, so that's very good. We have 1 Diabell's the White Witch, 1 Diabell Star of Vengeance. Best part of White Forest is playing Diabell's the White Witch and Diabell Star of Vengeance. For the White Forest spells and traps, we are on the triple copy of Witch of the White Forest. This is our best 1-card starter. 1 copy of Tales of the White Forest, 1 copy of Sinful Spoils of the White Forest as our extender and our fusion summon, and then finally 1 copy of Woes of the White Forest. For our Sinful Spoils, we are on triple Wanted Seeker of Sinful Spoils. This is again a great starter for the deck. 1 copy of Deception of the Sinful Spoils, 1 Hallowed Azamina, 1 Azamina Debtors. I love Debtors. I've always loved Debtors. I don't think this card is cuttable anymore. I think you absolutely need this card, especially if you're playing the triple field spell. If you do get locked by your field spell or have to go field spell before you go into your Azamina lines, you get to just set this card with Deception setting itself at the end step. And so when it goes to your opponent's main phase, you can go Azamina Debtors, make your Illa Sylvia. Now you have your Omni Negate. And then to wrap up our Sinful Spoils line, we are on the 1 copy of Sinful Spoils of Betrayal Severa. This card is especially important that you can't go without, and it's probably why you would play the Azamina package or Sinful Spoils in general, since this is our best out to Forbidden Droplet. And then to wrap up the engine, the 1 copy of Affiliate Diabell and the 1 copy of Cursed Diabell for that Diabell package. Again, pretty self-explanatory. It is the best part about playing White Forest. For our non-engine, and like I said, we've entered basically a board breaker format, and so this is one of the strengths of a White Forest. For our hand traps, we just get to play a ton of Mulcharmies, and that's all we need, because even if Mulcharmies only draw us 1 or 2 cards, they're drawing us into either more engine for White Forest, which 1 or 2 cards of engine replacing these cards, or even going +1, +2, means that we are getting enough cards to push through our opponent's in board regardless. So we are on a triple Full Willows, double Purulia with a 3rd Purulia in the side for rogue decks. And then the non-engine board breakers that we are on is triple Forbidden Droplet. Then we are on triple Super Poly. So I said this at the beginning of the format. If you are not a Phadralus Harmonia deck, you are a Super Poly deck. And now White Forest is also a Super Poly deck. And we'll get into those extra deck options for White Forest as well. And one of the fun interactions with Super Poly is because you have to discard for cost, you can discard cards like Curse of Diabell or our next non-engine Black Goat Laughs to have them in the grave. And then discarding Curse of Diabell triggers the Curse of Diabell effect of it being sent to the graveyard, so you get to search out your Philia Diabell. So Super Poly is also a starter in that way. And then our final non-engine card is a Call by the Grave, because you need Call by the Grave. For our extra deck, we are on all of the White Forest names. So the 1 Poplar, the 1 Rasilia, the 1 Silvera, and the 1 Diabell. Again, this is pretty standard. Our 1 tuner to summon off of Diabell, we are still running the Zalan, the Shackle Dragon. This is our closest thing to Baron to Floor. For our high-end last 2 synchros, we are on the 1 Chaos Angel and the 1 Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon. For our fusions, we are on the 1 Chorizo for our Chorizo lines, for Diabell Star being a starter for the deck. If you happen to open just Diabell Star and Sinful Spoils, you can still go into full White Forest combo. It also doubles as an amazing Super Poly target. For our other Super Poly target, we are on Garura. So there's not enough room for also Mud Dragon. I feel like you would have to take out Zalan if you wanted to put in Mud Dragon as well, and I don't really feel like that is worth it. Mud Dragon is the one that comes up the least out of the Super Poly names, like generic names. So we have the Garura, and Garura is great as well for this deck, because if you make a Garura and then go Diabell Star special summon by sending a card, you send the Garura. Now you're going Diabell Star to set and then Garura to draw you a card to chain block. So you do get some extra value from there as well. So now in the sideboard for our Super Poly target, we are on the Sea Monster of Theseus. This is why you run Super Poly in this format. It takes 2 tuners. It completely clears the majority of Kill Tune board, leaving them with just KT Synchro, usually set if they're going full combo. Then for our Azamina package, we are on the Azamina Murasiliago, the Illa Sylvia, our best 2 names. more Regina. Then we are on the Saint Azamina. This is a great floodgate in this format as well, as it keeps Branded and Draco Tail from being able to target things in their graveyard, so it shuts them down from being able to cycle back their resources. Also in matchups like Luna Light, after you bait out their Liger Dancer, and then tribute over it by sending the Azamina and their Liger Dancer for your Azamina, and now you have a 4K beater. And then for our final card in our extra deck is one Snake Eyes Doom Dragon. And this is probably the most optional card, but I find it so hard to cut, and every time I cut him, I miss him because the lines to go second and board clear are just so clean when you are running Snake Eyes Doom Dragon, because after you fight through your opponent's board and you resolve your Philia Diabell or your Curse of Diabell, get access to your Diabells, the White Witch and Diabell Star Vengeance. You go Vengeance effect, pop one of their monsters, special summon out your Poplar. Your Poplar sets your 2 names in your spell and trap card zone. Now you send them. So this is 1 removal spell. Now you send them for your Doom Dragon. Your Doom Dragon pushes a monster to the spell and trap card zone, pendulums it, messes up pendulum scales. So this is the 2nd removal. And then you just synchro these 2 off immediately into your Vengeance Dragon. And then this pushes another card into the pendulum scale or into the spell and trap card zone. So that it makes Diabell Star Vengeance a 1-card, 3-card removal. And it is just so very strong at breaking boards and getting that final push to go for game, because now you have 3K beaters to attack with. All right, so that was the deck. Again, if you found this video helpful, if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, subscribe, comment down below, all that good YouTube stuff. Feels good to get back to pure White Forest or White Forest Azamina, kind of take a break from the elf notes. I know, again, this was a version of the deck a lot of people were hesitant to leave and definitely wanted more videos of, or wanted to ask my opinions of for this format, if it was still a viable deck to play. And that's absolutely correct. You can still absolutely play this deck. Whether it is better or not, we will have to find out when we do get that final wave of elf note support. But as of right now, in this format, with the board breakers being so prevalent and necessary, I do feel like for right now, the Azamina White Forest or pure White Forest version of the deck is the way to go, or the best way to be building the deck right now. For my matchups at locals, we played against Vanquish Soul Canine, Radiant Typhoon, Branded, pure Branded, not Draco Tail. Unfortunately, no one at my store plays Draco Tail Branded or hasn't recently. And then the final deck was Kultun for that undefeated spot. Again, really like the deck, really like the non-engine of it. Really think this is the way to go currently right now in this format until the format shifts again when we get some of that Chaos Origin support, like I said. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, or if you want to see more White Forest Azamina content, remember to subscribe, follow the channel. I'm going to be uploading more games on Master Duel, kind of talking through the deck and through thought processes as well, as you can basically just build this deck in Master Duel. And I try and keep my Master Duel decks as close to the TCG as humanly possible for instruction purposes. That being said, guys, gals, MBs, YouTube catters, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, good night.